Don't hate me, but the star of today's show is an Invicta. Hi last watchers, I've lost count of the many emails, messages and comments I've had asking me to review an Invicta. For obvious reasons, I've stayed away. I mean, just take a look at their website. I don't think I have the wrist size, confidence or devil-may-care attitude it would take to wear anything they have to offer. Saying that, they do own Glycine and I'm a proud owner of a combat sub. I guess considering just how many watches they make, and they make a lot, it was only a matter of time before they produced something I would consider having on the channel. Inevitably, it's a Pro Diver, and here it is, the Invicta Vintage Pro Diver reference 31290, better known as the 1953. The 1953 is by no means an Invicta design. You can consider it to be a fair facsimile and a close copy, or as us watch collectors term, a homage to the Rolex 6204, the original Submariner. Although Rolex started marketing the iconic Submariner in 1954, the watches were actually available to the market in late 1953. Let's dive into the Invicta's specifications and see how it compares to the Rolex. It has a case and bezel diameter of near enough 40mm, a case thickness of 13.6mm and a lug-to-lug of 48.8mm, a lug width of exactly 20mm, and size for my 7-inch wrist and -4 full links, the weight comes in at 132.5 grams. The 316L stainless steel case of the 1953 stays true to that of the 6204. It has a very similar shape and profile, with horizontal brushing on the mid-case and circular brushing on the case top and the lugs. It has the same distinctive polished shoulders, with a bevel edge that runs the length of the case, but in true Invicta or 21st century styling, the dimensions have become somewhat inflated. The 6204 was a 37mm diameter watch that was notoriously slim compared to later Submariners. The 1953 is a much thicker diver. The Rolex benefited from drill lugs, sadly missing from the Invicta, though you may appreciate the modern sizing of the 1953 screw-down crown, a more usable 6.3mm compared to the dainty 5.3mm of the sub. And take another look at the Invicta crown, which is signed quite cheekily with a cross from a Swiss flag. This is not a Swiss-made watch. The 1953 has a rather snappy 120 click unidirectional bezel. Its well-defined coin edge is easy to grip. It's a competent performer with absolutely no backplay. The black aluminium insert has no fuss 10-minute markers with block indices for the 5-minute intervals. And the inverted triangle at the 60-minute position has the tiniest of lume pips. The crystal Invicta I've used is a fairly standard, ever so slightly raised, flat mineral. I have mixed feelings here, as the 6204 had a domed acrylic crystal. Why didn't Invicta follow suit and fit a dome to the 1953? I suspect it may be about dimensions. The Submariner's domed crystal was offset by a slim profile bezel. The 1953 has a thicker bezel, ergo the flat crystal. They could at least have upgraded it to a sapphire. Below the disappointing mineral glass is an as close to a 1-to-1 copy of the 6204 dial that the lawyers at Invicta would allow. A matte black dial with a gilt printed chapter ring and printed predominantly round hour markers with the exception of batons at the 3, 6 and 9, and the distinctive elongated inverted triangle at the 12 o'clock position, all filled with a glossy coating of trittonite, which I understand is Invicta's very own luminous material, and much safer than the radium of old. Below the 12 o'clock triangle is a sympathetically gilt printed Invicta text, which is preferable to the Invicta winged logo. And above the 6 o'clock baton is 2 lines of gilt printed text, where our Homage derives its name, 1953 Automatic. Now, I know this is a black dial, it's advertised as a black dial, but all that gold has tricked my brain into thinking that this dial is a dark chocolatey brown. I'm sure it's an optical illusion. Let me know what you see. The handset at the heart of the dial are polished gold coloured pencils. If this had been a copy of the latest 6205, then they would have been the more recognisable Mercedes hands. The pencils, like the hour indices, have also been filled with trittonite. The seconds hand is a long gold stick with a relatively small gold lollipop at its tip, missing its fill of lume. Quite disappointing. It reminds me of a pendulum as it swings around the dial. I'll drop in a lume shot here. I read that trittonite requires a good 4 hours of sunbathing to charge it fully. A little difficult in Scotland at this time of year, but this is what 30 seconds from my UV torch gets you on a winter's night. The rear of the 1953 has a diver-style screw-down display caseback. Around its perimeter, some details on the watch. Its 31290 reference, all stainless steel construction, and the Invicta brand name. Then its water resistance of 200 metres, an upgrade over the original Submariner. There is also the finest of text, which under macro explains that the Japanese movement powering the 1953 has been assembled in Malaysia. The display caseback reveals that movement to be a Seiko NH35 with an Invicta branded yellow decorated rotor. You can't be a fan of Invicta if you don't like the colour yellow. Trust me, there's more of that to come. The NH35 has made many appearances in many a micro brand, but here it is in a market monster brand. The NH35 is an unbranded version of the Seiko 4R35. It's an automatic movement with 24 joules that hacks and hand winds. It has a power reserve of around 40 hours and a beat rate of 21,600 an hour or 6 ticks per second. It's rated for accuracy between -20 and +40 seconds per day. This particular version is running at -8 seconds per day. The NH35 also has a date complication which is hidden on this dial, but would explain the ghost position on the crown. The all-brushed solid stainless steel oyster style 3-link bracelet stands in for the riveted original and gives as much as it takes. Its female end links add great articulation, but they are hollow. It tapers from 20mm at the lugs to 18mm at the buckle, which jumps back out to 20mm. The all-brush buckle is engraved with both the Invicta and the Wing Swiss Cross logo. A little bit of overkill, one or the other would have sufficed. The buckle is fairly basic. A fold-over safety and catch release shows a polished pressed metal deploying clasp. There are no half links on the bracelet, which comes with fitted push pins, but there is an abundance of micro adjustment on the buckle, which should allow for a comfortable fit. The vintage Pro Diver 31290 won't look out of place on your wrist. It's a decent homage that wears quite well, but it's missing that special something. The addition of a domed crystal or drilled lugs, possibly a slimmer case, or a seconds-hand lume could have lifted this timepiece to another level. A missed opportunity, maybe. Where it will win you over is on the price. I picked up my 1953 for €120, which including the exchange rate fee worked out at £108. It came with free shipping and a 2-year guarantee, though you may want to wear sunglasses when you unbox it, as Invicta's take on the Rolex packaging is an almost luminous, lurid brand yellow that will no doubt glow like a form of kryptonite in my cupboard. The 1953 just might be Invicta's best budget watch, a bargain that puts most micro brands to shame. You'd have to take your chances with AliExpress to find something better on the specs front. And it would seem that many of you agree, as the 1953 is nearly always out of stock. I had to sign up to the Invicta website and move fast on a notification to bag this little beauty. Fortunately, you can save yourself some time and effort by using my Amazon link in the video description below. For clarity, I am an Amazon affiliate. Since its initial launch, it would appear that Invicta have taken note of the 1953's popularity, as the vintage range has now increased to include 4 new options, all with 2-tone bezels. The price has also increased substantially to €147. The Invicta is by no means a Rolex. It doesn't have the charm, charisma and legendary status, but if you don't have the time and money to track down an original 69-year-old 6204 and would prefer something you can wear fearlessly as your daily driver, then the 1953 is a great value proposition worthy of your attention. Unless you can persuade me otherwise, I would give the rest of Invicta a wide berth. Share your thoughts on the 1953. Would you consider having one in your collection, or does the Invicta name come with too much of a stigma? Are you an Invicta fan? Do you own a vintage Pro Diver, or would you recommend another watch from the brand? I look forward to reading your comments and suggestions below. If you enjoyed today's review, then please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.